Welcome to Don't Whistle at Night podcast, where Navajo legends echo in the shadows. Darren and Dawn will guide you through the sacred fire of native storytelling, where the old stories breathe, the unknown walks among us, and voices, long hidden, rise to be heard. And remember, don't whistle at night.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to Don't Whistle at Night. We're broadcasting live here on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans. I'm your host, Don Yazzie. With me, my co-host is Darren Yazzie. Ta-da!
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Darren in the flesh.
Yeah, I like that UFO in the back, man. You're getting abducted right there.
Gonna get probed. I was just kidding. Nice to see everybody out there. Let's see here. Right here, Jared Log. Oh, brothers, Don and Darren. Yeah, Jared. Yep. So today, folks out there listening to you, classy people out there that's listening. Thank you for joining us. For those of you that were around for Sean Kelly's Into the Night, thank you for joining us here at Don't Whistle at Night podcast. And today we have a guest of honor. He's one of our first celebrities on our podcast before we joined the United Public Radio Network. His name is Thomas Sewid. So without further ado, bring on the guest of honor here.
Augusta, greetings. Thanks for inviting me on again.
It's good to have you back. It's been a minute.
It's an honor. Oh, yeah. It's always great having you back. We learn a lot from you, you know, like every time Aaron and I, we just turn into a sponge. So,
yeah. Well, listen to your elders. That's what I tell the young people. That's where I learned it all. Still do from the elders.
Oh, that's right. That's true. That's very true. As you can see, we upgraded. We were with the radio station, which is really good. You know, a lot of people hear us now, and it's it's an amazing trip right now. You know,
good. You know, you guys keep going.
It's probably because right after you, it just went boom. No, I was just playing. But yeah, that interview was really great. The first time we had you on, and there's still a lot to unpack on that first episode. But I think we're gonna press on with the title, and we'll bring you back on for part 3, part 6. You're already a part of the family. Oh, yeah. Oh yeah. Here's Mr. Curly. What's up, Double D's? What's up, Mr. Curly? Mr. Curly, I've listened to Thomas a lot on other podcasts. This will be a great show. Oh yeah, definitely.
I think I've done over 100 now, easily.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah. Easily, yep, I believe that. I see you everywhere. Kurt W75, great to see you. Don, Darren, and Thomas excited for the show this evening. Thank you for joining us, Kurt W75. On time this time. No, just kidding. Jared Log, first time tuning in, but watch most of the shows. Hey, thank you, Jared. Nice to join. Nice to catch us live. It's an honor to have you. Okay. We caught up with the viewers' comments. So, tonight's topic is Bokwus. Bokwus, right? Bokwus.
Yep, Bokwus.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, we're going to hand the mic off to you, Thomas. Take it away.
Okay. So, last time I was on, when they first started, I was talking about Dzoonakwa, or Sasquatch, for the Kwakwaka'wakw people from northeastern Vancouver Island, where my tribal territories are. But we also speak about Bokwus, which is apparently supposed to be small, hair-covered bipedal creature, and it's what we call the chief of the ghost world. So they say that when you're being taught lessons on how to travel with the tides, the weather, how to read the weather, how to swim across a lake or wade through a river or a stream. You're taught all those lessons so you don't drown. Well, if you do drown, you screwed up. And what happens is you go to the ghost world, and your spirit is held by Bokwus, the keeper of the ghost world. It's like a limbo land. And what happens in there, I don't know because I haven't died yet. And hopefully I won't be captured by him. But our people talk about Bokwus as he's sort of a bad creature. And there's supposed to be quite a few of them. But other tribes refer to Bokwus as little people, stick people in the Pacific Northwest. And I even seen a picture from the Navajo Indian Reserve of a little humanoid creature. And when I saw it, black face and everything, long hair, I thought, boy, it looks like a Bokwus from what I heard from the stories and from our art. And that's one of the main ways you see Bokwus is when you go to a potlatch or great ceremonies hosted by a chieftain and his family, his clan. You'll see all the crest figures come out, natural and supernatural. And of course, you'll see that little greenish hair covered depiction of Bokwus danced by a dancer. And when he comes out of the camellias, the screen where the drummers and the chieftains are sitting, and where the talking stick is held in place during the potlatch, it comes out of the screen. The first thing our dancers do is an anti-clockwise circle. It's like our protocol, our etiquette. And that arm will be in front of its face and it'll be twitching and moving, and it runs onto the floor and it's looking behind its arm. Hey, 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 hey. Scamper out onto the dance floor, and all of a sudden you'll see it bend down and start digging. And all of a sudden you see it like it's eating. And what it's doing is the dancer's depicting when an ancestor was on a clam beach digging shellfish. And all of a sudden they heard that. Whee, 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 whee. And they look over and they see that little greenish hair covered creature about 3 feet tall, maybe close to 4. And it's digging in the beach sands as well, going for its favorite food known as jolly in my language, otherwise known as cockle. It's a type of shellfish where it looks like a scallop, but it's like more shaped like a potato. And clams, the rings, age rings, go horizontally around the shell. Cockles and scallop, it goes from the back hinge to the front lip. And that's the favorite food of the Bokwus. And it'll come out on the beach at night and it'll dig that cockles and run back into the forest. And there's so many different families that have an ancestor that's seen a Bokwus. And recently up in Alaska, a non-Indian had a sailboat and he was an artist and he went ashore. And he was this beachcombing looking around and he saw what we call a Scotchman in British Columbia, or a buoy, bumper, balloon, bladder. But it's a round plastic ball with one eye on it used for commercial fishing applications, crab traps, pond traps, fishing nets, you name it, even as bumpers in between boats. Well, they're worth anywhere from $50 to $250. So when you see one on the beach or floating around, it's treasure. You go get it. You're saving yourself a lot of money. Well, that artist saw that balloon. So he said, oh, good. I could use it for my crab trap or whatever. So he walked up the beach and into the edge of the forest. And there was the balloon, but there was 3 greenish hair-covered creatures with teeth, and they're making noise and threatening him and everything. And he's just like, oh, I've heard about these things. And he just turned and got down the beach, got in his boat, got out of there, went back to Alaska, his homeland, his town, and he painted what he saw. When I saw that picture, I was blown away because I could see how that non-Indian's interpretation of these little creatures he saw, and it looks like bare skin on the sides of their heads. Well, that's depicted in our Bokwus masks, and the teeth showing like that, depicted in our told in our legends and stories, but also our masks. A Dzoonakwa Sasquatch mask will always have puckered up lips like that. The Bokwus will always look like this, teeth. Well, one of my distant cousins, apparently, this is probably 10th hand report I heard about 3 years ago. He was managing a cleanup team off northeastern Vancouver Island on one of the recreational islands that our Indian tribes manage for the boaters, sea kayakers to go ashore and walk the trails they've built into the ancient rainforest and see culturally modified trees, cedar trees that 500 years ago or longer, when they're 10 or 12 inches in diameter, an ancestor cut the bark in June or July and peeled it and took a strip of the cedar bark off that tree. Well, 500, 600 years later, that cedar tree now is 10, 12 feet thick at the trunk. But that pronounced scar from the bark being removed hundreds of years ago is still found evident on that tree that's still living. And some of the trees on the island, they have where wood was borrowed, meaning they would go to the big trees, 2, 3 feet in diameter or bigger. And the ancestors would cut, like the first cut on a power saw when you get into a fall down a tree, they'll cut in. And then if they need planks for their big house or bentwood boxes they're making, but let's say their big house roof, they need 12-foot planks. They build a ladder and go up that giant tree 12 feet above that cut down below, and they make another horizontal cut in the tree, and with yew-wood wedges, they bang into that chunk of wood about that thick and open up a crack like that. And they put a hardwood dowel into that crack going across, might be 2 or 3 feet long. And they leave. And when the wind blows, the tree moves and the crack gets bigger. The dowel rolls down until eventually popping noises, that big chunk of red cedar, no knots, perfectly straight grain, falls onto the forest floor. After the wind, the natives go back to the tree and, oh, look, there's our piece of wood. They thank the tree, give it thanks for allowing them to borrow the wood. And with yew-wood wedges, they knock off those planks that could be 10, 12 feet long, an inch, 2 inches thick, perfectly rectangle, 90-degree corners. We didn't need sawmills back then. That's how we made our lumber. Well, that island is covered in those culturally modified trees and all the trails they built. And in the springtime, they went back to the island, and my distant cousin was managing it. So he told the boys, start offloading the power saws and cleanup gear. I'm going to go walk the trails, and with my GPS unit tablet, mark where the tree falls are, the widowmaker branches that fell, blowdowns, so that they knew where to work throughout the trails and what to expect. And our winter storms, like yesterday, it was blowing like 50 knots here. And the wintertime, it gets up even higher. So we get a lot of wind damage in the rainforest. So he's doing his job walking into the interior of the island. And apparently he heard something and looked up. And there was said to be over a half a dozen or 10 of these Bokwus creatures climbing up, falling down trees, on stumps, threatening him and throwing things at him, where he just turned and ran back down to the beach at the end of the trail where the boat and the crew was. And apparently it scared the living hell out of him that he saw these many Bokwus. But I also heard another story from the 1960s that the same island, there's 2 channels, one on the west side and one on the southeast side. The southeast channel, called Blackney Pass, is very turbulent with tide, whirlpools, upwellings, because all of the current and the narrow channel. And it's, roll boats over if you don't know what you're doing. Commercial fish boats, it'll flip a kayak or a small boat. You get into one of those whirly pools, they'll suck you down and you're going down forever. Well, this fisherman, and I heard this when I was probably early teens, a fisherman was in the fog and he went through that channel, but he knew it was a good time because it was slack tide. And as he was going through the channel, there was half a dozen of those Bokwus swimming in the no current water in the fog, going to that very island where my cousin had his encounter with them. So what they are, we don't know. I just know it's from our legends and stories depicted in our art, as well as our native dancing. We had an artist by the name of Mark Henderson, and he was from the Lehwata tribe, Campbell River, Vancouver Island, Central East. He went to art school, and he was a phenomenal artist in his day, but he passed away. But one of the things he focused on was Dzoonakwa, the Sasquatch, and Bokwus. He has a painting he did, and I'll send it to you, where there's a little Bokwus squatted down on the beach, looking up at the full moon and the tide. The beach is low, and you can see his interpretation of the clam spits when they spit from the sand water. And there was that Bokwus harvesting in the moonlight at nighttime, and he was going after Choli, the cockles. So it's of all the Indian tribes I've come across in the Pacific Northwest, some tribes will say, "Oh, we don't even mention the little people's names. We don't talk about them. It's bad omen, bad karma." And with my tribe as well, I've never heard anything good about a Bokwus. But what I have heard is if you're lost in the forest, all of a sudden you're getting cold, getting hungry, pretty soon panic ensues and you're running and you're falling, tripping, and you're getting afraid. And all of a sudden you're just like, I got to go to sleep. And you lay down and you go to sleep. Well, the Bokwus is watching you. And he comes out and he lays a piece of bark or a piece of wood down with. And when you wake up, you see this beautiful, delectable food: smoked fish, halibut dried, berry cakes, venison, shellfish. And you look at it, and because you're so scared, lost in the forest and hungry, you start eating it. You shove it in your mouth. But all of a sudden, you notice that what you thought was beautiful, delectable, traditional food is now centipedes, worms, maggots. And it's too late. You gave in to your fear and your weakness, and you ate the ghost food of the Bokwus. And the Bokwus watching you, laughing. I own you now. I own your soul, he's thinking. And when all of a sudden you jump up and you run down the mountain and you're panting and sweating and you part the bushes and you look and you see your boat anchored out, or you see the smoke from your village's fires, you run down the hill and you're not getting close to the beach. And you stop again after half an hour, and you part the bushes. Well, you're further back than where you were the last time because you ate the ghost food. You gave in to weakness and temptation, and you shouldn't have eaten that food from the Bokwus. And now he's captured you, and it's next to impossible to get back to the warmth of your family fires, your bed, your loved ones, your full cupboards and refrigerator and freezer. You can never get back to it. It's next to impossible because you gave into weakness, temptation, fear, and you ate the Bokwus food. Well, we tell our young people, and this comes from my, I guess, about third cousin, Wayne Moose Alford. He's a very famous Kwakwaka'wakw artist and historian. But I get this from a movie he was on, a documentary probably 25 years ago, but it resonated with me. And he told his interpretation of the Bokwus legend. But he said, all around us in this modern world are Bokwus. They're gambling casinos. They're tobacco, alcohol, drugs. So when that Bokwus comes to you and says, here, smoke this, I put some white powder in there. Oh, it's going to make you feel good. Don't eat, sample that ghost food. When someone comes to you and says, grab this glass pipe, take a hit. Oh, it just makes you feel euphoria. Do not take that Bokwus's drugs. Do not take that glass pipe. Smash it, if anything, and turn away. And if you're drinking alcohol, never drink to get drunk. Never get Dzoonakwa, crazy, stupid drunk. You wake up in the Crowbar Hotel, the police station, and you got cut knuckles and you don't remember what happened the night before. You were drinking the Bokwus food. Don't drink like that. Have it under control. Use it socially. And remember, yeah, we can go to dispensaries in Washington State and British Columbia for drugs, but it's expensive. And I hear some people are going to the street dealers for their pot. Well, I've heard from some of those people, they're spraying that pot with fentanyl and meth so that instead of going to the dispensaries, you go to the Bokwus on the street and buy his ghost food and smoke it. Marijuana laced with fentanyl and meth. And it's just the Bokwus is destroying our Indian tribes. It's turning our social ways and our Indian reservations upside down. The people that we know and love are living in the streets, in cities, homeless. And I have a family member very close to me. I won't say the person's name, but He's dancing with the Bokwus right now. And I told him that. And I said, you're never going to be homeless so long as I have a roof over my head. But I found a pipe in your bedroom and I found other stuff. You're dancing with the Bokwus. If you want to be under my roof, you will be zero doing whatever you're doing because I found your paraphernalia. And I haven't heard from him since, and it's been almost 4 months. So that's how powerful the Bokwus is, and we know that. So we have to tell our young people about the Bokwus, that they're out there, the drug dealers, the alcohol, the casinos, even the tobacco. Because once you start getting addicted to one of those things, and you are addicted, pretty soon you're stealing from your family, your loved ones, your friends. And now you're thrown out of the house. Your friends don't want you around in their houses because you're a thief. You steal, you lie, so you can get more of the ghost food from the Bokwus, so you can smoke it or drink it, put it in a slot machine or whatever, or on a number on a roulette table. So the Bokwus is all around us, and we have to warn our people, never eat the Bokwus food. Just turn and be the warrior and walk away with your head held high, because once you start opening that door and going down that path, when you're thrown out of your home, when you can't go to your friends, you might even be thrown out of your Indian reserve. Everything that you cherish now, love, warmth of fire, warmth of a thermostat, no rain when it rains because there's a roof over your head. That's what you forfeit and give up when you eat the Bokwus food. So don't ever do that. Yep, here ends what I got to say on that one. So that's what I was taught about Bokwus, and I really honor my cousin Wayne Moose Alford for enlightening me with that. So who is now an elder of 60, I can pass it on in my interpretation, but based upon his teachings. He's older than me, and that's what I said in the beginning. Always go to your elders. They'll always give you the guidance so that you're not dancing with the Bokwus. But I have had an encounter with the Bokwus in its natural form. Lived in the bush for quite a few years, most of the springs, all through the summer and into the fall, and sometimes year round. And I watched logging camps in the wintertime and was a hunting guide. So the bush world was my realm. I loved it. I still do. My knee's gone now, so I can't enjoy it as much as I did. I fell down mushroom picking, Sasquatch investigating today and bruised my palm. It sucks getting old, losing my balance because of diabetes, bad knees, bad hip. But I still go into the bush as much as I can. But when I was in my early 30s, I had a water Harley. That's what I called my 18 and a half foot speedboat with 60 horse Mercury outboard, because it was when we bought it with the trailer. It was the same price as a Harley Davidson motorcycle, brand new. So I called it my water Harley, and I just went everywhere. Worked, explored, hunted, fished, enjoyed the bush water world and my traditional territories and more. And I had some friends out there who worked with the fishing. Well, we don't call it fish and game in British Columbia. We call it the Federal Department of Fisheries and Oceans, DFO. So anyway, they were working on the contract with DFO where they had water monitors for the velocity of water, how much water is coming down a stream, because salmon were spawning there later on in the summer. So they wanted to know how much water, what the velocity was, and so forth. And they had this plywood box with a mechanism in there with a round waterproof paper graph and this ink well and this needle. And you would open the box and you would replace the used graph paper that was recording every few minutes the velocity of the water, and would take place for 10 days to 2 weeks, these things. So they said, we're leaving for a conference and we'll be gone for about 3 weeks. Can you look after the monitor boxes? There's 3 of them in different streams. I'm like, sure, no problem. I know how to use them. My dad brought me up working with those things. So they gave me the keys and gave me the locations and told me where the spare ink was and paper at where their float house laboratory was. So anyway, I go checking these things every 10 days, crank them up. And the second time I went to do it, I went to this called Bond Sound, and it's a inlet, not that long, maybe 3/4 mile, I guess, mile long. So I get to the head of it, and it's really low tide. There's a little creek coming down estuary, I'm Canadian. I say creek, not creek. So anyway, I walk up the creek along the beach, and I had to be 100 yards to get up to the mouth of the little creek. And I get up there. I left my gun in the boat and didn't need it, so I thought. And I got up and I'm walking along the creek and I'm looking at the deer tracks, raccoon tracks, black bear tracks, always looking for Sasquatch tracks. So don't see anything other than normal animals. I get to the box, open it up, take the graph paper out, put a new one in, fill the ink well, and I crank the hand crank key. And I'm cranking away and it's click, 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 click. But all of a sudden I heard, and I looked up and the bank with thimbleberry bushes, salal bushes, salmonberry bushes, ferns just moved. And I could hear this like a chattering. And the heck, I must have spooked the family of river otters. So I get back to cranking away. And all of a sudden I'm like, smell something different. And I'm like, So I closed the lid, put the lock on, I've done my job. I'm looking at the bank, I don't see anything. All of a sudden I turn to walk back down to my boat, and behind me on the gravel, pea gravel, I could see my boot prints. And across my boot prints, two trackways of little feet with narrow heels, and then they go up like a V with 5 little toes. And someone found the same thing down in the United States somewhere, a track like that, and they laid a big pen beside it, and it was pretty much the same length. Well, that's how big those tracks were. I saw 2 of them going across my tracks where I just walked. And all of a sudden I looked up at the bank, and all of a sudden, and all of a sudden the ferns started shaking, the bushes started shaking. There was like over half a dozen different Bokwus up there. First thing that did, my heart started pounding. I'm like, I know it's bad to be around them. So I just turned and I started running down that beach, jumped in my boat, pushed off, grabbed my oar because it's shallow water, pushed off like a son of a gun, and enough water to get my motor down. I got the hell out of there. And that I didn't get to see them, but I saw them. And when I was telling people about, I didn't see them, but I heard them, smelled them. And when I told people about this, someone asked me, what did it smell like? It's kind of like a sweet licoricey smell. It's anistis fern. That's what the little people eat. It's a fern that grows in the Pacific Northwest, and they eat the roots of that, and it tastes like licorice.
Okay.
And that's what I smell. So, as a warning, if you smell licorice out there and you hear scurrying, turn and run because you don't want to be around a Bokwus.
Hey Thomas, are they known to kidnap people up there?
We've heard from other tribes. When I was with the Omaha tribe 5 years ago, Lucas White, that good friend of mine who basically was raised by Tonga Sasquatch, and he's very bushy. He's lives in the bush. Like right now, he's typical what we know about Native people, when they're basically just have welfare to live on. Indian tribe ain't helping them with housing. Wife kicks them out. Can't see his kids. Got to pay child support. No bloody jobs. You know what the whole song and dance is all about. Well, that's what he's suffering through right now. I'm actually going to fly him out here to Forks, Washington this winter, and so he can come be under my roof and stay warm and have full fridge. But he talked about him. And he told me, he goes, you keep your door locked in the cabin you're sleeping in, because I was like 2 miles away from the town all by myself at night. I said, how come? And I was waiting for meth heads or something like that. Well, the Tonga, the Sasquatch, will come in and open your door when you're sleeping. They'll come in and smell you and absorb your smell, learn you, know you. So when you're around or you're back here again, they'll know who you are. And right away, I'm like, oh, geez, I'll keep the door locked. He goes, but also for the little people, we have a lot of them here. And they'll come in and raise havoc, and they might even take you. And that's what I hear happens. And he goes, he goes, well, we should leave offerings though. So he said, we'll go to town. So we went to town, and he bought bread and pork chops, and there's frozen fish he bought. And he put that out high behind the cabin, but at the edge of the bush, and that was for the Sitonga, the Sasquatch, their gift from Lucas and I. But on the picnic table and behind the house, he put on the 4 compass points shiny coins, pennies, and rock candy that he bought in that I bought in the gas station. And he said the little people like candy, they like shiny items, and that's their offering. The week and a half I was there, we checked on him. Shitonga took our fish and pork chop and bread offering, but the candy wasn't taken. But Lucas said, that's good. We don't want them to be around anyway. And, it's one of the things I've heard from other tribes too. They do the same thing. Um, uh, Vancouver Island, one of the tribes from the Salish Nation live around the Nanaimo. I sat with an elder, a good friend of mine, Noel Brown, a carver's father. And when I first got to know him 10, 12 years ago, we were talking away and I asked him, I said, of course, Sasquatch came up and he said, oh, yeah, that's what we call Kwakwaka'wakw. And he told me his tribal accounts of Sasquatch, Kwakwaka'wakw. And then he goes, you heard of the little people? I said, oh, yeah, we call them Bokwus. He goes, yeah, we call them steamtum. Oh, bad, bad, bad. Don't want them around. They'll steal from you. They'll even throw little spears at you, little bows and arrows. And they're very, very aggressive. They come across you, they're gonna fight you. They're gonna run you out of there. It's better just don't hold your ground, turn and run.
Down on the Navajo nations, like the same stories correlate. The spears, little arrows, and they actually show the people that are herding sheep, like the females and the children that are herding sheep. They would come across these little people, and they would show them their teeth. And they would stalk them all day while they're herding their sheep or their cattle or their horses, and they're seen into the bushes, like sage brushes. They're gathering some kind of root inside the bushes. That's what people seen before. Yeah. So it's just a lot of correlation. Real quick here, Melody Alvarez. Hello. What's up, Melody? Von Koshel running on the Indian time, but made it. How's everyone doing this fine Sunday evening? We're tired. We're tired. B. Cass, Mr. Sewid, is your people from the Athabascan language?
I don't know. I'm not fluent in my language, Kwakwaka'wakw, nor am I fluent in my mother's side, Cree, which would more than likely be Athabascan from central Canada and Saskatchewan, the Mistawasas Cree Big Child. But the Kwakwaka'wakw, I don't believe we're Athabascan linguist group. I know our language is Kwakwala. That's all about as much as I know on that.
Yeah, that's what the story goes, that we separated from the Cree many moons ago. Disagreement over ceremonies, I believe. That's the old saying, I guess. But we gotta dig in the past. Mr. Crazy Coyote 1313, your pronunciation sounds almost Navajo. Oh. And Mr. Curly sounds like a demon. I think he's talking about the little people, like that make you do drugs and all that. That's what.
Yeah, I'm a critterist, so the interaction I had with the Bokwus was they were living, breathing creatures running and scampering through the bushes and making their noise. I just didn't see them. But other people's encounters with them, I've never heard of anything supernatural. And I've heard some tribal stories, of course, reading the internet and books and that, that they have supernatural qualities and they come from a different dimension and that. But because I've never experienced, I never jump on top of the fence and go to the other side on that level, unless, of course, I've experienced it. So I'm just a critterist when it comes to the Bokwus. But one of the things I've noticed is we call it the gnome line. About someone who lives up in Nome, Alaska, has educated me that roughly 60 some odd miles south of there. And then when I ran that line across Alaska into Canada, it seems to be indicative of all the Indian tribes. There's no Sasquatches above that latitude, but there are little people. And up in Nome, Alaska, I got to go through all my pictures of Bokwus and get them off to you after the show tonight. But up there, because it's permafrost and sedge grasses and muskegee area, he says what they look for is a little upwelling. And where when the snow melts and the rains and floods are there, all the low area, there's water. That's where all the ducks and geese fly up there, and cranes for the spring and summer. So they have all that water, fish and stuff they eat, and safety for where they build their nests for their young. But anyway, they look for that high knoll, and that's where they know they're probably going to see the hole that leads down into where their little people live up in Nome, Alaska area. And he actually sent me a picture of wood, like driftwood, made into like a teepee frame. And inside was a little fish. I couldn't recognize the type of fish. I think it was a whitefish, but it was about 5 inches long, tied by the tail and hanging in there. And I asked him what that was. And he says, oh, the little people, they dry their fish like that in the summer, wind dry and heat. And that's their food during the wintertime when everything freezes up, when they live underground in their dens. Here in Washington State, and out of respect for them, I won't say the tribe, but they are in the Puget Sound East area. A good friend of mine now, but he was inviting me Sasquatch investigating around 2010, I guess, when I first started coming down here, when I got together with Peggy, my wife. And he enlightened me about their little people. And he says they live on that side of the river, they say. And where the pyroclastic flow, where the Mount Rainier, when it erupted, all of that hot ash and dust that would settle and compact. It's like concrete, but not as hard as concrete. You can chisel through it. Well, he says that's where they live, especially where the big tree roots are. They dig and go underground and live in there as well. And he pointed, he said, right across the river over there. That's where I've seen evidence of their entryways to where they live. That's why I don't go over there. Too many of the little people.
Wow. That's amazing right there. Hey, Darren, you have any questions before I read the viewers' questions?
Oh, yeah. How tall are these little people, these little things?
In my area, 3 to 4 feet, under 4 feet. Yeah. And other areas, I'll let those tribes talk about how big their people are. But I've heard some of them are not that big.
Yes. They don't wear clothes on your side, do they? Traditional clothing?
I've heard they wear clothing. Yeah, rude clothing, like furs and but mostly in my area, it's that greenish colored hair, which brings up a really interesting thing, because someone posted in one of the Facebook Sasquatch groups last week. Someone took a picture of a bipedal Sasquatch in South America. And right away, when I looked at it, I'm not going to go, oh, it's a Bokwus, because it had greenish hair, long brown, but greenish hair. And then I can see the greenish a little bit in the wet fur as it's crawling out of a river, muddy river like the Amazon. And I thought, oh, that's a sloth. You can't see the hand, otherwise you'd see the pronounced claws that a sloth has. But when you study sloths, they're slow moving. They got algae growing in their hair. And that's what I think why when we look at the Kwakwaka'wakw and Lehwata, even other tribes in British Columbia's interpretation of little person, a Bokwus in my tribe, it's always got that greenish. We use ghillie suits when we dance it because it really makes it look like a real Bokwus, the elders said back when ghillie suits first came out. So now all of us use ghillie suits when we dance the Bokwus. And mine, I heard from someone that saw Bokwus on Vancouver Island North. He was a splunker, a caver, and he got a hold of me. He said, I don't want to talk on the phone. I want to meet you eyeball to eyeball. Can I meet you at such and such park on the waterfront in Campbell River? I said, sure. So I went down there. I told him what I'd be wearing. And he come over. He goes, hi, I'm the guy who phoned you. Introduced each other. And he goes, I'm a splunker. I'm a caver. Northern Vancouver Island has the highest concentration of unfound or mapped caves on Earth because it's all limestone karst. So basically, central to Northern Vancouver Island and the central coast of British Columbia is like Swiss cheese under your feet because all the water making channels through the limestone rock karst structure, they call it. So anyway, he said I went into this cave and just got to the edge of the light. So I turned on my headlamp, tested my 3 other lamps to make sure they were all working. And I'm like, okay, I'm good to go. And he goes, I know better not to splunk by myself. I do have a shipping plan where I'm going, GPS coordinates in case get stuck, but I don't push the envelope. You know, if it's a tight squeeze, I'll come back with a team and we'll go investigate further. But he goes, just as I turned the light on and I walked into the gloom, and all of a sudden I'm getting towards the darkness and I'm panning, looking. All of a sudden I can hear above me on the ledges. And it's chattering, wisp, like it's blowing air at the same time. And all of a sudden, rocks the size of walnuts and some the size of a squash ball were pelting me. No, first thing that came to my mind was a Sasquatch. So I turned and beat feet out of that cave. And we went back and we found, looked like little beds, little nests of ferns. And you could see evidence of bones, but small animals like the forest rats, squirrels, and found those things in that area. I said, any evidence of fire use? He goes, no, but they were, whatever was living in there, and we found 6 bedding areas. They were just inside the darkness where those rocks were being thrown at me. And we even went further into that cave structure and found no other evidence other than a couple little footprints. And he went like that. He said they're about 4 inches long, the footprints. I said, what'd they look like? Narrow heel, kind of V'd up, and then the 5 toes. And exactly what I saw.
That's amazing.
Well, that's
amazing. Unacknowledged and known. Are we allowed to ask questions? Yes, you are. We'll get to you when we can.
That's something we kind of want to do more. You know, have the people get more involved in the conversation. You know, you cannot be just a listener, but you can actually join in the conversation and ask questions to the to our guests. You know, so
yes, yep. Mm-hmm. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share, please. Please. I'm just kidding. BCast, Bigfoot reminds me of a movie, Lucy. They have been here so long they can become invisible, walk in different worlds, trick you mentally. Could by the way they're so hard to find. Oh, could be why they're so hard to find. Jared Log, only little people I seen look like those little pink things in the movies. Labyrinth. That's ugly. They weren't pink but black. Oh yeah, they're black like he was saying.
I agree with him. From one of the pictures I saw from your Navajo Indian Reserve, they're a Chothlam, black.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That brings up one conversation. Actually, me and my late sister were looking for the sheep, my mother's livestock. So, you know, I bring this up a couple of times because I think this is what you would call your little people. But this one, it didn't have, you know, it wasn't wearing clothes. I don't think it was wearing clothes, but looked like it had like a dark shroud over itself, and then you can see the neck where the neck and the head kind of goes up. You can see the back. It looked like an old lady would be walking up a little cliffside. It was only maybe a foot and a half, and you know, we turned this corner with the truck, and the truck light hits it, and me and my sister were just like dead center right on this thing, and we just look at it, and then I look at my sister, and then I look back at it, and the thing is just slowly walking up the canyon, the little cliffside. And you know, at that point, we just looked at each other like, "What the hell? Like, what the hell was that?" And it was even my sister. I think there's a little person. Like, and she's like, "Let's go after it." Like, no, you don't listen to too many stories. You don't chase them after that. And after that, we kind of left. But on a serious note, we did find a little arrowhead, believe it or not, about smaller than a penny, believe it. I posted it up on, a couple of these reservation ghost story sites. You know, I showed Don I showed Don that picture too. A little arrowhead. So.
Oh yeah, little tiny one.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Which is really interesting because I studied archaeology quite a bit through my life. I just love it. Plus, I want to understand my ancestors' archaeological evidence they've left behind for us. But while I was looking through arrowhead, spearhead collectors and all this stuff, this one guy had this collection of small, like you said, smaller than a penny arrowheads.
Mhm.
And someone, his interpretation, oh, these are bird points. And I'm like, what human like us would has a dexterity to make a
Yep.
small little arrowhead like
Yep.
that? And what protein value are you getting out of a little dick bird that big that you might shoot with that arrow? But if you're a little person and you have the dexterity to make arrowheads, and that's what I saw in that first collection, and it intrigued me to study more and more arrowhead. And there's even Facebook groups on points, and you'll notice a small percentage of some of these guys that have collections, especially the guys that are sifting in the lakes and riverbanks with the screens in the water. They're finding evidence of these small little what they call bird points. So you can Google spear arrowhead bird points, and you'll see people that lay them out with graphs for measurement and everything. And like you said, very small. There's no bloody way our ancestors made that.
Right.
It was from the little people, and that they're finding evidence of it. You can find the arrowheads from our ancestors in the millions in North America. Then you should, if there is little people out there, you should find their archaeological evidence as well, which they are. They just renamed it wrong, calling them bird points. They're not bird
Right.
points, they're little people's points.
And another note too, we were using a shifter at the time we were picking pinions. It was pinion season, so that's how we came across that little arrowhead. And maybe you could throw a rock to from where we seen this little person that too. So we're at the same area, and it just at different times. So just adds a bit more to the mystery.
Yep, and Sasquatch sort of upstages and keeps the little people in the background, and then also the non-Indian doesn't have the frontal lobe development with a cultural upbringing to accept that there's these little people out there. For me, as far back as I can remember being in the potlatch and the big house, the Yuxi, seeing the Bokwus, because I loved it. How fast it was moving like a little bird, chattering away and always hiding its face and digging with its feet and its hands. I just loved it. And then, of course, the Dzoonakwa, the Sasquatch dance would come out, and others that I just loved. And so my culture is it's a part of us since we're young and get the first retention of memory for we can recall when we're adults. And Bokwus, the little people, are all part of it. And it's like that I find with many tribes that I talk with. I'll open a conversation with, oh, what's the stories you guys have on Sasquatch? Otherwise, what the non-Indians call Bigfoot, which is derogatory. I don't like using the B word. But what do you know about them? Oh, this. And then once you get them going and they're chattering like a Sasquatch, just spilling the beans on what they know or experienced. And then you throw in what about the little people? What do you know about them? Ooh, not supposed to talk about them, but here you go.
Yeah, I know there's the stories of them kidnapping people, and then some of them they'll actually save somebody. They'll actually save one person, and they would teach them a song to go back to their people with a new song. That's one of the deals that they would have within our tribe I ever heard. We're really quick here. Corvid, New Mexico. I had one of those in a tree next to my house. This was a long time ago out here near Pine Hill. Don has seen a photo of it. You can see it holding something like an arrow or a spear. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm. Jared Log in Fort Defiance by the rock they call Black Rock. Oh, it's talking about little people, huh? Hi, Don. Is there any reason why I was visited at 7 years old by little people in our area called the Paisa? They came in early in the morning. A girl and the boy that smiled and stared at me. Oh wow! What do you think about that, Thomas? What? That's strange. Yeah, she
That's
said
strange,
that.
that one, because I've never heard of anything like, I can't recall of hearing anything of them being nice and friendly. They always seem to be
Oh,
that.
right.
Get out of
Right.
here.
Oh, yeah, the trickster type, huh? And B Cast, the Ute in Cortez, Colorado, also talk about little people with green hair. Oh,
Oh,
correlation right there. The little people here along the San Juan River in New Mexico wear traditional clothes. They take crops and throw rocks at you.
it's
Yeah.
Wow.
indicative all over.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah,
Utes,
that's
Navajo Nation. Oh, that is awesome. Jared Log. Don, you're pronouncing my name wrong. Oh, sorry, Jared. Gerald Log. Okay, I need glasses. And those little people took one side of my shoestring. They took one side of the shoestring, huh? Wow. How would you get the shoestring back, Thomas? What advice would you give Gerald?
I think what Lucas taught me, put out bright rock candy. They like bright
Tobacco?
things and sweet things.
Okay, I hope you hear that, Gerald. Leave some candy. Samantha Curley, yay! I made it to alive. Hi,
hey,
what's up, Samantha?
what's going on, Samantha?
Nice for you to join us. All right, we caught up with everyone on the comments, and okay, so there's this one tree in Kaibito. So one of our big no-nos is to never touch a tree that has struck by lightning. And then there's this other tribe out in uh Oregon that says a tree that gets struck by lightning also can be a little portal way to the little people's world, like through a hollow trunk. You would go through there and you would find your way into their world because it's all like a hollow tunnels type of deal.
Which reminds me, in 2015, 2016, I was up just south of the Arctic Circle in Northwest Territories, Canada. I lived up there for a year. But when I first arrived up there in August, beautiful weather, doesn't get dark, 90 degrees. So lakes is loaded with trout and other fish. So my buddy up there, who I worked for their family, he had two cousins come up from probably 300-400 miles south of us. And so when we were talking, I said, "Oh, what do you do for work?" He goes, "Oh, I look after fire teams, Native Indian fire teams fighting the forest fires up in northern Alberta." So I'm like, "Well, this is peak fire season. Everything's burning. How come you're not at work?" "Well, my crew quit me." I said, "How come?" He goes, "We're pushing the fire was coming up the top of a hill. So we were pushing it back into the burn with all of our water, hoses, the whole 9 yards. There's a lake just below us that we're hosed up to." And he goes, "We're winning. There was no wind, thankfully, but we're pushing that fire back." And all of a sudden, there's a stump. The trees aren't that big, he said. They maybe put your arms around a big one. He said, but there was a rotten stump. All of a sudden, this little human covered in brown hair jumped out, showing its teeth, hiding behind its arm. And it looked at the fire and seen that we were pushing it over, and all of a sudden it reached into the stump, started pulling its family out. And my whole crew watched this, and five of them running, and the adults holding on to the younger one's hands as they're running and jumping down the hill, getting away from their stump hole that was possibly could have been engulfed by that fire if they didn't push it back. And I said, "So that's why you're up here drinking beer and fishing with us?" He goes, "Yeah, my whole bloody crew quit. I gotta phone them tonight, see if I can beg them back to work. Maybe they're not so scared, but at least I get a week fishing."
Oh wow.
Oh, it's awesome. So with that tree, there was seven of us, my kids and my niece and nephew. We got these throwing knives, and there's this tree that was struck by lightning, and my daughter and I were talking like, "Hey, there's a tree that's struck by lightning. You think little people are in there?" And she's like, "I don't know. Leave some tobacco for them, Dad." And I was like, "I don't have any tobacco, but I have some throwing knives." So we had 7 throwing knives. Don't do this at home, guys. So I threw the first one, and it disappeared in the tree. I don't know what to tell you. My daughter threw the second one. My son threw the second one. My nephew threw the other one. So we're all through it. We seen the throwing knives go into the tree and disappeared, and we heard the knives like falling around somewhere. And we lost 4 throwing knives. We could not find around the tree at all. We were going in circles, spirals, and all of us, all 7 of us, we could not find the throwing knives at all.
Hmm.
So, I was wondering if you heard anything like that before.
Not me. Like I say, it's even though we say that the Bokwus is the keeper of the ghost room, so it's definitely in a different realm, and it's definitely to get to that realm, it's got to go through a wormhole, a porthole. I don't know. I've never experienced it. I've seen orbs, but that was in a village site where our ancestors were decimated by smallpox. And I believe the orbs I saw were loneliness, ghosts in my language. And but I've never heard that level. But like I say, if my tribe's saying they're from the ghost world, there's got to be something on that. And I highly recommend, type Bokwus, Bokwus, on Google and go do some research. And especially if you hit images, you'll be amazed. The Umist Cultural Center, our Kwakwaka'wakw Cultural Center, and all has a vast online presence. The website umista.ca, umista.ca. If you go to that site, you're going to have to dig. I was trying to dig before the show, but I couldn't find it. It's such a vast site. But you will see the film of one of our family's Bokwus dance in the Gilxie, the big house, as well as Dzoonakwa. And then, like I told you, to get a hold of another native podcaster couple, the Sailor Sasquatch. They were at Randall, Washington a month and a half ago, and we did the September Sasquatch conference there. And in a big, huge pasture, mowed down low, I was talking in native attire, and my wife Peggy came out in the Bokwus outfit, and you've seen the video. It's amazing, and you got to see it. Definitely go to my Facebook group, Sasquatch Island, and you'll see the post about it. And for the people listening, and we're talking about Bokwus, it'll blow you away, it'll floor you. And that's what you see in our ceremonial big houses. And actually, I've even seen kids crying, hiding in the big houses. They get so afraid of the Bokwus.
Is there any with that tree and the knives being disappeared? We found Sasquatch made its nest by that tree. Is there any strange correlations between little people and Sasquatch? You heard anything like that before?
Nothing that I've ever heard so far. But you gotta remember, most of our people, we've been generations, we've been out of the bush for most parts of the Kwakwaka'wakw Nation. There's still some communities like the Chawadena people or Chawadena tribe of the Kwakwaka'wakw who live at the head of their inlet. Uh, their community is called Kwai in our language, but otherwise known as Kinkum. And that's, if you Google search The Owl Called My Name, a book and movie from the 70s, really won a lot of awards and accolades. But read the book, it's really good. It's the main character is based upon my late great uncle, my family's Helicum, our chief speaker, Adam Dick. But it gives you a good depiction of just how isolated this Kinkum village is. And then we have Heckham's Great Wolf facing west, the Kwakwaka'wakw tribe of the Kwakwaka'wakw in a town they call Hope Town. There's a few families still there. One of our elders who was carving and living there, he just passed last year. But there's still people living there. And then we have other communities are mainly tied to asphalt. They're in the Vancouver Island area, other than Alert Bay, but it's tied with asphalt with a ferry and paved roads on the island. And but if you ever get the chance, go to the Umista Cultural Center in Alert Bay. If it's summertime, make sure you look into being up at the ceremonial big house, the Gilxie, to see our youth dancing for the tourists that come. And you'll see the Bokwus and the Dzoonakwa.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. I know Darren was gonna ask, but I told him Don't ask, but I'll ask for him. He was asking, what part of Forks do they have the vampires? I'm just kidding. I'll just play it.
Everywhere. Yeah, no, it's full on Twilight here. I tell you, we even got Bella Jacobs' truck at the Chamber of Commerce. We got Bella's father in the movie Charlie, the police officer. We got his car at our bus depot transit center. We have the werewolf vampire treaty sign, no entry down the road towards La Push. And of course, you can go to La Push, baby, at the Indian Reserve and go stay in their resort and eat their restaurants and go to the beach and rent a surfboard like in the movie. And the Cullen House is up the street here somewhere. I don't know where, but I run the biggest Sasquatch store and museum in North America right here downtown Forks, 2 blocks from my house. And we have a Twilight corner, and it's one of our big sellers.
Oh man, decisions. I don't know. Visit you or vampires? No, just kidding. Of course, we're gonna go see you. Of course, everyone. Real quick here, let's read some of these ones. Chances are, Crazy Coyote 1313. Chances are they probably use arrows and spears laced with rattlesnake venom to bring down large animals. Possibly.
Oh, benefit of the doubt. They have the dexterity and the knowledge to make arrows and spears. They're going to have knowledge on how to use the poisons to bring down that animal that's shot with an arrow or a spear a lot quicker than naturally dying out from bleed out.
They would have to know like some kind of I know some people say they would get confused, like they're hiking and they'd be gone for hours. And some people say that's the little people playing tricks on them. I've heard of that before.
Well, like I said, part the branches, run for half an hour, part them again, you're further back than where you started. That's their trickery. It's something to that in my legends and stories, and, you can use the analogy with drugs and alcohol and stealing and all that, eating the ghost food, but there's got to be something to my ancestors talking about how when you part the branches and run for half an hour, and then part them again, you're further back than where you were the last time from your fires or your community. So, there's definitely trickery there somewhere from the little people.
Oh, definitely. And Gerald Log, thumbs up. Oh, yeah. Kelsey Jackson, Peblos told me to leave candy for the little people. All right, there.
Yeah.
Correlation. Gustavo Cordoba, shalom from Venezuela. What's up, Gustavo? Hello to Venezuela. Much blessings to you. Gerald Log, by them taking my shoestring at night. That's probably why I used to run around at night in the Easter years. In my yesteryears. Wow, probably, unacknowledged and known. I think I said that wrong. Little people scared the hell out of me. I don't think they were friendly or mean. I was too young to know. The Potawatomi tribe lived in our area at the time. Pa'is is a common man's name. Oh, so Potawatomi tribe. Also, that's like Midwest, I possibly. Let's see here. And he comes back again. The tall one was 1.5 feet tall. Oh, interesting. ECAS. Jacob is team Skinwalker. Knew you guys were Dene. I knew you guys were Dene. Oh man. All right, we caught up with the comment section. Darren, do you have any questions for Thomas?
Oh yes. What other stories you guys have out there? You know how the mother would tell the kids to don't whistle, as like I say, don't whistle at night, or this and this gonna get you. What other cryptic beings or whatever knowledge that you guys have out there with dealing with these, the abnormal, paranormal? I think on the Native American side, it's just common living. It seems like every tribe has Bigfoot. The Sasquatch, and they also have little people. So it, at a certain sense, I take the the tribal stories as truth. At us, we have to. Either we take it as truth or we lose it all in general. But in all together, these beings are real, and you know, other people might see they'll take it as they live in the trees, they're primitive, but uh, we Native Americans have been here for forever, basically thousands of years, and they all managed to talk about the same creature, Bigfoot, little people, the big guy, little people. Um, Tell me, what other stories do you guys have out there? I heard, I think it was out there in Alaska. They talk about otter people, otter men. Like
Yeah,
what's do you have any stories like that?
I've heard that even like, well, just south of Alaska is, Haida, Queen Charlotte Islands, it used to be called. But I lived there in '07, '08 for 8 months. A lot of good friends up there, and they filled me in about this otter being. And he saw one go because the road runs along the saltwater mouth of the inlet. And he said one day he was driving and he saw one that was almost looked like it was on its back, crawling, and
Huh.
grimacing at him with teeth. And he said, I had to hit the brakes, otherwise I would have hit it. It scared the hell out of me. But I've heard those stories. But in my tribal territories, northern Vancouver Island, some 150 miles south of there, no stories of the otter person. But we do have stories about Sissuth, the double-headed sea serpent. It's interpreted as being. But
What?
there's many, if you study the elders as I did when they were alive, like my grandfather Adam, my great grandmother Agnes Alford, and the list goes on. I would ask them about Sissuth. How come we always hear it about being double-headed? And I remember my great grandmother, no, 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 no. And she was speaking Kwakwaka'wakw, but my grandmother, her daughter, was translating to me. And she's saying, no, 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 no. It was seen at times to look like it had two heads. So we talk a Sisu, and it's like you said, we've been here forever. It goes back forever, the Sisu. Well, the non-Indians, they talk about Cabosaurus, because there's a community that has a COD or whatever in it, and people there will look out their condos and houses in the saltwater just north of Victoria, uh, Cabrosaurus or whatever they call it. But anyway, they'll see this single-headed serpent thing swimming in the water. And my father in 1958 was a phenomenal year of return of sockeye salmon, otherwise known as reds to the American listeners. But in British Columbia, it was just outrageous how much sockeye showed up. My dad said, I was a teenager and I made big money, bought a brand new car into that summer.
Oh,
But him and another crewman, they're young men, they're holding the wheel on top of the 54-foot wood seine boat. Everyone else is downstairs. And beautiful summer day. And they're going from Alert Bay to Port McNeill. That's about a 45-minute run at 7 knots. And halfway is Haddington Island. And my dad said, I looked, Ed, look, look, look. And at the port side was this big, huge Cabosaurus. Had a serpent-like head, a long neck, four flippers moving, and a big tail at the back. And it was coming straight at the boat like it wanted to torpedo it. But as we kept going forward, it just went past our stern. He goes, but I remember looking at that thing. He goes, the thing wasn't 40 feet from me. I know what I saw. And he goes, that was a sea sleuth. That was a sea serpent.
hmm.
And him and I went to the museum on Vancouver Island in a community called Courtney, because someone found the skeletons of Cabosaurus up on the Puntledge River. And the archaeologists, they chipped it out and they brought it, made a reproduction out of it. And when you go in the museum, there it is in the ceiling, 24 feet long, that
Oh,
skeleton
wow.
reproduction of that sea serpent. So, what is the double-headed sea serpent? My family's legend speaks about Nichla, the Sissuth War Club, how an ancestor argued with a neighboring chief from the same tribe, but uh, different clans, and he said, "That's it. We're going to go to war." So my ancestor was sitting there going, okay, men, prepare for battle. We're either going to jump in our canoes and go attack his village or meet him halfway on the water, hopefully, and we battle it out canoe to canoe, man to man, so that we don't burn each other's buildings down and kill the women and children and elders. And or we're going to go on a defensive and just prepare our village for him to attack us and we'll repel him while our women, children, and elders go in the forest to flee and hide during the battle. But I have to think about this battle. And he jumped in his canoe and told his men, prepare for battle. And he went paddling, but he went into the behind the village into this shallow bay, high tide. He's paddling around, but he's talking aloud. I've been called to war. I have to do it. I'm a war chief. If I go into defense, they might send flanking canoes and go around the corner of my village and go to the forest and run into my women, children, and elders hiding and take them prisoners and kill the elders. And if they attack my village and I go into defense, they're going to use bow and arrows with fire, and they'll hit my big houses, and my village could be burned to the ground with all our food and possessions and property and masks and regalia. So I think I better not go on defense. I think I better launch at daylight, paddle towards his village. Hopefully he'll do the same and we'll meet on the water and fight. And at the end of the battle, we'll count who's got the most heads, and that's the victor. And I think that's what I'll do. So he was sitting there, all of a sudden he heard the water erupt, whirlpool, bubbling, foaming. He looked, and all of a sudden, two serpent heads came out. Long tongues looked like dragons. And he knew that it was so powerful that he had to look into the gunwale of his canoe. Because if you look at a sea youth, you'll turn to stone and die. But if you make friends with a sea youth or you kill it with trickery, you can get it supernatural powers for battle, war, because it's a warrior crest. All of a sudden, the sea serpent hissed and spoke in our language to him and said, you're a wise chief, but you're also a very fearless chief. And that's what I like. You're willing to wage war without question or hesitation. And because of that, I'm going to grant you my power. There's a piece of wood drifting between me and your canoe. I shall go underwater and do my magic. And the water will erupt, and I'll transform my power into that piece of wood, and I will become Nikla, the Sea Youth War Club. And the two heads disappeared. Water boiled and erupted and whirlpool. The canoe was spinning, and all of a sudden it calmed, and there was a beautiful, almost as tall as a man, club with a sea serpent, sea youth head in the front and a tongue of copper blade. And my ancestor grabbed it. And when he grabbed it, he felt the power surge through his body, supernatural power, and he knew what to do. He paddled out of the bay, and as he went past his village, all his warriors looking, hey, there's our Kakame, our chief. What's he doing? And he held up Nichla to show them that he had the power of the sea youth. He was an invincible warrior, the skin of stone. No weapon or blow could harm him. He could read people's minds. He could see through things. He could make his canoe travel without paddling. And he had all the super hearing, super sight. He was a Wanagilis, the ultimate warrior for a short period of time. He put the club down and he pounded his canoe to move, and it went without paddle with the power. And when he got to his enemy neighboring chief's village, it was nighttime. All his war canoes were on the beach, as that my ancestors' canoes were. But every canoe was filled with every warrior's weapon, paddle, club, knife, battle axe, spear, paddle, everything was in there for preparing for war the next morning. Well, when my ancestor hit the beach, he jumped out and grabbed Nichla. The young teenagers who were on guard duty at night while everyone slept for the coming battle the next day said, look, that's our chief's enemy chief from the neighboring village. Let's go down there and kill him, and we'll hold his head up high and proud that we killed our chief's enemy, and we'll be given high regard and gifts and maybe beautiful woman. So let's go kill him. And they ran down the beach. And when they got down the beach, there was my ancestor with Nichla smashing the first war canoe from bow to stern, 50, 60 feet long, filled with weapons and everything. And all of a sudden he turned and he looked at him and held up Nikla, and those young teenagers stopped. They knew that that enemy war chief had the power of Sisiyuth. He was invincible. So they backed away and watched him smashing every canoe. When he smashed every canoe and every weapon inside, he jumped on his single woman's fishing canoe and he paddled back to his village because the power had worn out. And when he got to his village, as the sun was coming up in the east, he stepped out of the canoe with the club, but it didn't have no more power left. And his warriors rushed down. What are we doing? Defense here in the village, or are we jumping in our canoes and going on offense and attacking? My ancestor said, neither. The battle has been fought. The war is over. I'm going to sleep. I'm tired. And he went to bed, and hours later, he's woken up by his men. Kakame, chief, you better come out and take a look at this. Your enemy chief is in a single woman's fishing canoe paddling to our village. We should do away with him and take his head off and attack his village. That you don't mind thinking like that. That's my role. I'm the war chief. And he walked down the beach with Nichla. That enemy chief stepped out and said, my women and children and elders flee in the forest. The women gouge their faces and pull their hair out, singing the mourning songs, knowing that their sons, their brothers, their uncles, their fathers are standing on the beach with no weapons because you destroyed them in those canoes with your magical club. And they are there with rocks and sticks, ready to defend at all costs. But they know you will come in with your flotilla of war canoes and you will launch a rain of arrows and it'll take out most of our men and women warriors. And then your canoes will rush closer and you'll throw the spears and take out many, many more. And what few survivors are there, your masses with weapons will kill them. So we stand to lose my entire warriors this morning when you attack. But after that attack, you will go into the forest and kill our elders, which is our knowledge and future knowledge of our people. You will kill our women, take our children and young women as slaves, and take over our territories, and our tribe is no more. So I come to you because of your power last night with your Sisiyuth War Club. After destroying my canoes, I can't tack and I cannot defend because we have no weapons. I offer you my head. Take me and spare my people. My ancestor tapped him on the shoulder and said, look up. You and I will fight one day, but we will not fight Kwakwaka'wakw to Kwakwaka'wakw. We will fight side by side as allies as Kwakwaka'wakw to repel our enemies in the north and the south and wherever they may come from. So I want you to go home, paddle back, drop trees, make big war canoes, make paddles of yew wood and hardwood alder, make weapons, make stone, and my people are going to help you make weapons, arrowheads, spearheads, knives, and whatever we can, because you, my neighbor, my friend, you and I will fight one day, side by side, together. Now leave. And that's what he did. And that Sisiyuth, the double-headed sea serpent's magical powers, enabled my ancestor to destroy an enemy's ability to attack him, but at the same time to unify a nation even tighter. So there's a lot of power when it comes to the sea serpent, the Sisiyuth.
Wow, wow, that's that's a story if I ever heard one, man. It's it kind of makes you sit back like a little kid and listen. Like whoa. Oh, that's that.
Look,
that's
I'm just imagining all that right
balding
now.
elder white hair now.
right.
Yeah, we're the grandkids right now. We're the grandkids right there.
Yeah, I was lucky because Noosa to tell a story in Kwakwaka'wakw. My grandfather was the late great Wallace Kakame All Sewid, James All Sewid, and he was a very influential man in Canada. He never liked to accept awards or accolades. But back in the 1920s to his death in 1985, he would fight for the rights and equality of all Indigenous people in Canada, US, and the world. He was one of the pioneers of the Law to Sea conferences, and he would be in Caracas, Venezuela, for that Venezuelan guy watching tonight, debating about the 6-mile boundaries on our country's coastlines to be extended to 250 miles. A couple of years later, in 1975, he would travel to Geneva, Switzerland, and be one of the signing dignitaries for the 250-mile boundaries on our shorelines in the world that we enjoy to this day. But he also fought for the rights and equality of Native people in Canada. So he was equivalent to Martin Luther King for the African American up in Canada. But he was a historian, and he would always drag me up to Alert Bay to fish with him, to travel with him. He would be in Vancouver when me and my parents lived in the city, and he would always Noosa tell his story. But his wife would be there, my grandmother, Ada, Flora Alford. Her elder mother, Agnes Alford, Aqua, would be there. And those two old ladies would be weaving baskets to sell in the gift stores in the cities. And they'd be just chattering away like two bingo palace aunties. And I would always go to my grandmother or grandfather or my father. What are they saying? And then they would just gush stories, legends, law, history. And I, just like a sponge, absorbed it all. And as a kid, I was nicknamed Tommy 10,000 Questions because it was always, how come, why, when, where, how'd that happen? Why did that happen? And shut up, Tommy, go stick your head in the book. Sick and tired of you asking questions. And this chubby little boy would run away and put his glasses on and absorb himself in a book. So I've always been a retainer of knowledge. I tell people I'm not fluent in Kwakwaka'wakw. I can't drum and sing. You know, I drum by myself and sing my broken pigeon Kwakwaka'wakw or Cree songs, but that's my enjoyment, my time.
Hey,
But to go up
just
to
as
the
long
drum
as
in
he
the big
can
house
talk.
and sit there with the boys, I've never done that because I believe my Ikagekame, the creator, gave me a gift, and that was to be the sponge. And now that I'm an elder, as of 55, I'm 60 now, it's time for me to be Niagara Falls, to let it flow out. And that's why I do so many podcasts, write books, do what I do. And I've always been like that. And it's all about the young people. You listen to your elders, put those computer games down and those cell phones and go sit with your old people and ask them, Noosa, tell me a story.
That's how you say grandpa in Noosa, right? Noosa, grandpa.
Noosa is to tell a story. Noosa.
Noosa.
And grandpa, well, we use there's a proper Kwakwala term for granny and grandmother, but our grandmother and grandfather, but my family and the other families too, we use Ada for the female grandmother, Dada for the grandfather.
That's awesome. That is awesome right there. Real quick here, NJ, she says, hello, what's up, NJ?
Hey, what's up?
Crazy Coyote 1313, Team Blade, Belmont, Buffet, Alcor, Monster Hunter, A. Alcor is cool. I like Alcor and Blade. CCC, shout out to all the holy, elemental, and little people, sky people, ground people, fire people, and water people in your SAS family, bumping the good life. Nice shout out. Nice shout out. And we got Adrian Belso. What's up, guys? Caught the show this time. Oh yeah, welcome, Belso. He says, "Wow, what a story!" I think it's about the War Club story. That's a really great story right there. That was just like a whole movie, just imagining everything here. B cast Darren is right. I also feel. Well, I think that was earlier, huh? Be cast like a kid listening to old stories, definitely.
Yeah, for
Adrian Belcast says, "Oh, how'd go? Hello, Don, Darren, and Thomas. I'm so late, been out and about. Dropped into the show to show some love and say hello. Oh, thank you, Heidi. Love from Boulder, Colorado. Thank you, thank you all for watching. So, you said you're out in the field, huh? Looking for the big guy, huh? Is there any new updates you can share with us on your latest excursion?
Oh, I started doing Sasquatch expeditions here on the Olympic Peninsula, Washington, and I had 3 clients in the last month. I guess the first one was a lady about, I guess, maybe late 30s, and friend of mine, him and I are on the verge of purchasing probably close to $40,000-$50,000 worth of forward-looking infrared devices and a heat signature device, which you can put on a tripod outside the vehicle while you sit inside and watch the monitor, and you can see like a 3/4 mile away, and it's like daylight. And we have the Apache helicopter goggles, so you can light the darkness into daylight. And I was down with her, and we're on the beach on a fishing place, junction of two rivers. It's actually a boat ramp, but local native tribe members have been filling me in that, we don't go fishing there without 2 or 3 people or more. But he went there one time a few years ago, and I walked across the river in my chest waders, and there's a metal pulley over there. I put the line through and walked it back to the vehicle on the boat ramp. And my gill net was sitting there, and I tied it to the rope, and like a clothesline, I pulled it out across the river, and I'm fishing. So I went inside my truck, and I was sitting there on the cell phone doing my thing. After about an hour or so, I forgot, I better check my net. I put the headlights on in my pickup truck. You could see the float cork line going in like a big U. And he said, I could see some of the floats down and bouncing. So I knew I had salmon. So I'm like, I'll pull them in and grab them. So I went, started pulling my net in. I pile my net up. And then what I do is I take a fish out, pull the net into the water, take another fish or two out, pull a net in the water. And that way, when you're finished pulling all your fish out, your net's reset and it's been fishing the whole time you're cleaning the net. So anyway, he goes, I took 2 fish out, and they're big ones, big kings. I grabbed them and I had my headlamp on, and I turned to go to the back of my pickup truck to throw them in there, and they're standing between me and the bridge that goes on the highway between the Rialto Beach. He goes, there's this big 9-foot Sasquatch just looking at me. He goes, I put my head down, I threw the fish at him, and I was like, should I jump the truck and leave, or what should I do? He goes, maybe I better get him a couple more fish. So I went to the net, and I took 2 more fish out, and I turned and looked to where he was, and there he was, the back of him with my 2 big fish walking under the bridge going upriver into the darkness. So I wasn't afraid. So I kept fishing, got my fish, but I told myself I'm never going to fish there by myself again. He goes, so if you want to use all that night vision stuff you got, he goes, I listened to some of your podcasts and read your website and that. He goes, you go to that boat ramp at night, because you'll see during tourist season, late summer, when tourists are still here on the peninsula, they all go to Rialto Beach and La Push Beach and Ruby Beach to watch the sunset. Yeah, I remember they're not from Washington State. They've never seen a sunset over the ocean like we have thousands of times. So anyway, they'll go to the beaches as soon as the sun sets. It's like rush hour going to their hotels and Airbnbs up in Forks and other places. And then all of a sudden the traffic slows right down within 20 minutes. And then an hour later, maybe the odd vehicle once an hour. That's how alone that places. So we went down there, and she was using the night vision goggles, and man, it was, nothing happened that night. But then I had the other 2, we found tree structures and different things, tracks. Then the other 2 came in about a week and a half later from New Jersey, and I brought them out, and we heard tree knocks, got some smells, found some tracks. So it's, I tell people here on the Olympic Peninsula, me and my wife living in this house here that's 2 blocks from the store, downtown Forks. We have a rule. We only investigate Sasquatch within a half an hour radius. There's that many Sasquatches out here that we can't be chasing needles all over the peninsula, because this peninsula is vast. It takes you over an hour and a half to get up to the top end, to get to the bottom end, 2 or 3 hours. Get over to the east side, another 3 hours. So this is a big chunk of rock out here, the upper left corner of Washington State.
Huh? Oh, I always looked at Olympia from Seattle. I have family in Seattle. Forks is one of the places that I really want to check out. It's
really, better get out here. I got the Patty 1960 room 1967 down the end of that hallway with 2 queen-size beds, Bob Gimlin autographed merchandise that I got off him. And everything to do with Patty 1967 in there. Even the bed sheets are Sasquatch. And you stay there, and we'll go out investigating.
All right. You hear me, family in Seattle? I know they're listening in Seattle right now. We're coming up soon. Oh, man. That's what you were telling us. The first
your family
is get a They're in Snohomish area, and I have a little brother. He's at the Coast Guard, way up there by Canada. I can't remember that town's name. Yeah, he's in the Coast Guard there,
Bellingham.
and yeah, Bellingham. Yeah, he's over there at the Coast Guard, and I got family in Oregon, all up the Northwest. I really need to go back up there again. But the our first episode, you were saying that like go around the reservation, like you were saying, like with the night vision on the side, and you can light up the whole area, like doing tours and expeditions. Like something like that is really really needed. I had a friend of mine last night. They seen a Sasquatch the other night up on the mountains, and they chased it down, but they got out of the vehicle to listen. They said they heard him humming at them. Have you ever heard a Sasquatch humming?
Oh yeah, humming, singing, talking in our native languages, and that's what I tell the non-Indians. I tell them if you want to learn how to get close to a Sasquatch and get that close encounter of the hairy kind, you first study the anthropological and historic accounts of the local Indian tribe where you're investigating. Then you reach out to that local Indian tribe for protocol and permission to investigate the Sasquatch in their traditional territories. It's only right. It's their territory. And they have a bond that goes back to the dawn of our creations with their Sasquatch. And if you get all that, you're going to have friends on the res, and they're going to help you find Sasquatch and hopefully get that close encounter of the hairy kind.
Mm.
And for us North American Indians, pretty much what I'm seeing is a lot of the tribes, there's over 230 Indian tribes in the US alone that have casinos, which means they have fat paychecks. They probably have 12 and 24 and possibly 50 passenger vans, buses, and coaches to use to bring their people from the cities to their casinos and their people out shopping or to medical. So they have tribe members that have the commercial licenses to drive those commercial passenger vehicles. Buy a few handhelds, charge going rate for a grizzly bear tour in British Columbia is about $400 per person for 8 hours. So charge $250 to $400 per person to come on the res. Number one, you're gonna have to give a chief and council permission for you to do a commercial operation, and hire the bus driver. Sell the tickets for $300 a seat in a 12 passenger van. Sell 10 seats. That's $3,000. Pay your bus drivers $250, $300 for the night's driving. Pay your wife for making all the sandwiches and bannock and everything. Pay the fuel costs. And at the end of it, look at your $3,000 and go, holy smokes, that's like $1,850 I made on one van load. Well, better get on Moccasin Telegraph, the modern Moccasin Telegraph, internet, advertise some more, Facebook, Instagram. And on my reservations, I'm doing Sasquatch tours. They're called this, we do that. You go to SasquatchIsland.com, my website, and go to the expeditions page. And I'm here to bend over backwards to help you get your Sasquatch tours going on right now. You want to see a Sasquatch on the Omaha Indian Reserve? Lucas White will meet you at Macy store, gas station on the Indian Reserve, and you'll jump in the vehicle after you give him $250, and he'll take you out for 24 hours. And he's put a couple, three people on Sasquatches so far. You want to see a Sasquatch in northern Minnesota? I got Andre ready to go in his time off work to take you on a weekend exploration in northern Minnesota. I got people on Vancouver Island and other places. I need every Indian reservation in North America, aka Sasquatch Island, to get with the program. When people say money doesn't buy happiness, well, poverty sure keeps us unhappy and keeps our death rates by suicide, alcohol, and drug addiction higher than North American standard norm in Canada, the US. So making money is what it's all about. Our Indian reserves are vast. The white people put us between the four corner pegs of what they called an Indian reserve. Generally in the area back in the 1800s, that wasn't good for agriculture or forestry. Well, they're prime habitat for Sasquatch, and that's where we should be doing our expeditions and tours 12 months of the year. I already made well over $1,000 for October just in Sasquatch expeditions, but I got a full-time job, so I'm not pushing it hard. When I was doing grizzly bear and whale watch boat tours, I was making $30,000 to $50,000 a month. I had a $280,000 turbo. I had a $67,000 fiberglass sea kayak fleet. I have thousands of dollars with a night vision camera around the corner. I got a big table with probably 20 grand worth of parabolic listening devices, scopes, trail cameras, almost 30 of them now, cell phone trail cameras, knives, flashlights, software behind me. My wife does editing for our production shows. And that's what Sasquatch, the industry, can give you: socio-economic and cultural prosperity, development, enjoyment, and tear us from poverty in a lot of our Indian reservations. And we Indians are the ones that got to own that industry, because we're going to teach them. When you see a Sasquatch in northern Vancouver Island, you say, "Yo, Weeksas. Hello, I don't know who you are. Weedas le Dzoonakwa. What are you up to, Sasquatch?" And never know. They might answer you. And one of the things I'm studying right now was, prior to contact and afterwards, there was a universal dialect for North America, Turtle Island, called Chinook dialect. It was all the different Indian tribes that would put their names into that language, so that when you walked across Turtle Island, north, south, east, west, and you came across another Indian, you're in different tribal territory, sometimes thousands of miles away. How are you? Hello. Oh, he's saying hello to me. I'll answer him in Chinook. I'm doing good. A conversation takes place in Chinook. Oh, yeah, we'll trade with you. Yeah, we got obsidian. Come on down. Put your blanket down. What do you got? Oh, abalone shell, dentilium shell from the West Coast. Oh, we like that in Arizona. But we got Arizona. We got this from Arizona. We got obsidian, and we got this. Navajo got the blue stone. And that's how the archaeological digs show all of the minerals, metals, shells from all over Turtle Island, made it all over the place, because we had a universal language called Chinook. So I'm playing with Sasquatch now with that language. I've ordered the Chinook dialect book and audio tapes, and someone's probably going to blow it off a dust in some store, but I'm going to get it. And I'm going to be able to hopefully talk to Sasquatches in Chinook, and they'll answer back. The reason why? They're the other tribe. And they live from average 130 to 150,000 years, 130 to 150 years old. The gray white ones live, some of them 180 years old, and some close to 200, if not over 200. How'd they get so old? Like the Omaha call their Sasquatch Sitonga, keeper of the medicine. They have forgotten more about their herbal plant medicines than we will ever know. Where did our shaman learn their medicinal trade? If a shaman before them died and the knowledge died with that shaman, they disappeared into the forest deserts of our homelands, and they interacted like Diane Fossey and Jane Goodall did with primates to get on the cover of National Geographics in the 70s and have editorial inside. And that's what our shamans used to do, interact with the Sasquatches. Some of our shamans are still doing it. I'm trying to do it. Lucas is doing it right now in Omaha Indian Reserve. You just can't get close to them with cameras or anything metal, because they won't allow it. So we're trying to figure out a way how we're going to capture them. I think I'm going to have to go with them, hide behind them with my P1000 Nikon zoom lens and videotape him, take pictures as he sits there with the Sitonga, the Sasquatch. So this is how powerful we as North American Indians are. We have a connection with Sasquatch, and we always have since the dawn of our creations. They are the other tribe. They're just big, hairy, black-skinned Indians with nocturnal vision and the ability to excrete from the armpit glands as we once did. So Sasquatch, male and female, they are our Adam and Eve. That's where we come from. And that's why we got to reconnect with them. And one way is to do expeditions to the white people, so that we can socioeconomically and dig ourselves out of poverty on our Indian reserves.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot of things to unpack right there. Oh yeah, that's a.
So I'm gonna have to jet here. I'm gonna have to take off.
Oh yeah, all right. Yeah. Hey, it's an honor. It's always an honor to have you, Thomas.
Would like to have you back on. You know, not not just for the Sasquatch, but just your storytelling. Kind of like Don was saying, you sit there and listen, you can just see it inside your head. So it's been a
Well,
good
I know
minute since I heard
probably
some.
close to 60, 70 legends, both my Kwakwaka'wakw side and my Cree side. So, like I was telling you guys, and I'm sure you're going to hear it from your listeners tonight, you might want to think about getting me on once a month for a little show. And I got so many legends and stories, and that's what my role is now as an old elder, is to pass it on before oh, there's the big one. Once I'm gone, I'm gone. So is all those stories and knowledge.
Well, the goal is to capture all that, and to have it recorded is just a giant plus. Somewhere down the line, some Native American kids might look at our podcast and we might be gone to ourselves. Just hearing the legends back then, hearing the stories, where we came from as Native Americans, like where did we come from, and to have people to tell us, like, sit down and I'll tell you where we came from. These are the worlds we came from, and just a good story, just old, sit down and listen, I think that'll be pretty good. I personally, it's I take this podcast, as a giant blessing, because I would never met you, I would never met the people that we have on our guests. I would never have met them and heard their stories and heard their life. It's a giant blessing, this internet and this podcast. And tell you the truth, if it wasn't for Sasquatch, Don and I probably wouldn't be talking. Started our own podcast.
Three of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the
like I say, I got no contract, so I'm a free agent. Like I said, I can so many legends I know because I absorbed them all, and I have permission from the families to share them. Most of those people that gave me permission aren't with us no more, but I do have the protocol and permission to share many stories, especially number one, the ones that belong to my family. I can talk about the list. It's immense, and also my experiences, and things like I just shared right now about I'm one of the pioneer directors of Aboriginal Tourism British Columbia, our provincial tourism body. We started in the early 1990s that we would help start other provinces throughout Canada, and we'd even start the Internet Tourism Team Canada, which was our national and still running as Indigenous Tourism Association Canada. I helped win the 2010 Winter Olympics, and I helped incorporate the Indigenous cultural component, the Indian cultural component, into 2010 Olympics. One of my nepotisms is, when you look at the medals from 2010, my cousin Corrine Hunt was the one who got awarded the contract. A little bit of my nepotism, different last names. No one knew the connection. Yeah, but I've done a wealth of stuff, and like I say, main one is talking about my whale watching. Like I'll sit, I had a whale watch tour boat, brand new, 2003, with native killer whale designs. Like my shirt, that's my design of a Sasquatch, but the boat had native killer whale designs. I wore a button and tunic designed whale traditional tunic with a native necklace, cedar bark headpiece, abalone frontlet, white ermine skin. I used to pull into the ports, and the white people will come pouring down, especially the Europeans. We want to see the whale with the Indiana Capitan, yeah? Yeah, hop on board. They wouldn't even ask me the price because I was all Indianed up. And I take them out, charge them 15% more than any of my competitors. I was off to the races, almost became a millionaire, and but got sued for $640,000. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But that's another story. But like I say, I'd be happy to come on and hopefully educate the Indians, the fellow Native Indians that are listening.
Right here,
that
like this guy right here.
Yeah, there's a wealth out there, and like I started out with this evening, you young people, listen to your elders. Put those cell phones down and remote controls, because we have a wealth of knowledge and understanding.
Definitely, most definitely. Before we let you go, I have this picture right here that you were talking about. Sorry about the quality. I can't choose how it looks. This is what I got right here.
That's a Bokwus.
So this is Bokwus, okay. And this one right here.
That's antiquities. That's Bokwus dancer from probably, God, that looks like probably 1930s. But you can see how the face looks really humanoid. And the branches you see on there, that's what we do because they're part of the forest. That's hemlock boughs. So when we dance Bokwus, my family will put a hemlock or cedar boughs around our waist like a belt. And it just adds that element of the Bokwus is from the forest roll.
Okay. That is beautiful. That guy right there looks scary.
I just noticed
you can really see.
I just noticed something. In all the years that I've seen this photograph and it's been in my computer when I sent it to you, there's two. There's the guy, and then there's the young one, the young male Bokwus. I've never seen that one before. I gotta make some emails to my cultural advisor and go, what's up? What do you know about this father and young Bokwus dance? Whose family has title to it? I want to know about it.
Yeah. Speaking of a little one, I had two people that told me. One person, he actually roped a baby Sasquatch and was crying like a baby, and another guy on the Ute reservation, he walked up in a cave on a mother and a baby. The baby was crying, and his buddy, I guess he crapped all over himself. He was scared. That mom and the baby walked towards them, and they just said they didn't want to look at it eye to eye. They just let it go. So
yeah,
but
oh no, it's a humbling, scary experience, you know.
It is. After that experience, you're not afraid of many things after that. But
don't whistle at night.
Right there.
Whistle at night, yeah. He's gonna whistle back because they hunt. They hunt when they whistle at night for sure.
Okay, well, I better run, but before I go, everyone that's listening, they'll put it up on the board, but SasquatchIsland.com for my website, Sasquatch Island on Facebook, YouTube channel Sasquatch Island, and me and Biggie the Sasquatch at work is always behind me when I do my TikTok, Sasquatch Island. And go to my website, tom.sewid@gmail.com. Just click the email, get a hold of me. And on a lot of my posts and social media, I put my modern day smoke signaler cell phone number on there. I work till 6 Pacific Standard Time. Feel free to give me a call after work and we'll chatter. I'll answer any of your questions. But I thank you very much for having me on the show. Don't whistle at night because we have the same saying in my tribe and I know what it means. And in the language of my people, Alakulasla. Go in peace.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor, Thomas. You have a great week.
All right. Wow. Oh, good one.
Ooh. Oh man, that's another good one right there. Another classic one in the books right there. Oh man, we definitely gotta book them again. I like hearing those stories, especially.
Right. Yep.
We have a request from the audience for you, Darren. Wait, hold on. Before we go and read that out. Let's catch up with the comments real quick. Whew. That's good stuff right there. Gerald Log, you were chosen for this. Oh, Tommy, 10,000 years. Go read a book. Oh yeah. Yep. Thomas is definitely chosen for this, and we're glad to help elevate his voice through the airwaves and through the podcast, and just try to get everyone's ears. There's things out here in the dark that run around and intelligent, and there's a chance that we can make intelligent contact, and we just can't go in guns blazing and everything like that. We cannot do that. We have to do this the right way. Adrian Belto, off the topic. I was wondering if Darren could share his vampire stories with us, possibly. I would appreciate that. Which vampire stories do you want to hear, Adrian? Go ahead, Darren. I don't know if you have them up your sleeve.
Oh, vampires. The couple of her guest that we had on before, she mentioned that her and a group of her friends seen a person with an elongated mouth, and she showed us a picture of it, and that's one thing that kind of brought me back to that vampire story. And Flagstaff. Maybe that was a vampire. Maybe she's seen a vampire. This is what they are. And I'm still kind of working around. Like where to put all these stories that were given to me, handed to me. Just going to work. Working that night shift, and that sadly that was a vampire story. Was warned of Albuquerque. I'm still, Albuquerque. Anybody who knows it, it's a real rowdy place as it is. But what one of my coworkers said was her late husband used to tell her, watch out for vampires in Albuquerque because I guess he was young and he'd get lost in the drink, and get lost in the streets of Albuquerque. So he used to warn about vampires, believe it or not, these vampire beings. So anybody in Albuquerque knows about vampires, hit us up because I'm very curious about it.
Oh yeah.
But you kind of in like the podcast going, you're whistling. Don't whistle at night. You might get what you want. So you might get a bite in the neck, get a hickey in the neck for asking stories about vampires in Albuquerque. But if anybody has stories, like hit us up. And I'm very curious. I asked this on another Facebook site, and I tell you the truth, I got a lot of stuff about gargoyles out there in Albuquerque. Believe it or not, probably hardly no vampires, but I got a lot of
Halloween. It's Halloween.
Yeah, people talk a lot about gargoyles in Albuquerque. So that Rio, I think it's a Rio Road. So, very curious. If anybody has any questions or has answers to that question, hit us up.
Yeah. We gotta real quick before we close out. Let's finish reading this real quick. Everyone's before we close out. BCAS. In the Northern California, Oregon area, I heard of a tribal woman that was stolen by Sasquatch and later gave birth to a girl. Later gave birth to a girl with Sasquatch features. She was outcast and became a drunk. Can't remember the tribe's name. I've heard something like that before. That's sad though. Adrian Belto, Sasquatch bed sheets, laugh out loud. Oh yeah. There's gotta be some cool bed sheets though. Mr. Curly, not the Navajos. We don't get that fat paychecks.
Yeah,
man. Give it up to the biggest tribe.
Yep.
I rather give it up to be the biggest tribe. Oh yeah. Brad Pitbull in the house. Cheers from Los Angeles. Could that be Brad Pitt? Who knows? BCAS. I have 300. Forget the casino. I'll be there tomorrow. I'll sleep on that recliner behind you. It's all about Thomas. Adrian Belto. I was going to do a sweat with Sasquatch once in the mountain. I was the only person there. I wasn't about to be kidnapped by a Sasquatch or knocked up. No, just kidding. Carlo Washington, Don and Darren, who's gonna be on your Halloween show? Oh, we have
everybody. Well, I got some haunted house. People with haunted houses currently living in them too. So, myself, do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. CCC, how was the camping? Oh man, it was. Wheat fields don't sleep. Everyone was driving around, chopping wood all night. Voices everywhere. It was nice. It was really nice to get out the house, but everyone was out and about though. It was awesome. Let's hear some personal stories. Anything, probably Halloween or Halloween special. You'll hear us ramble. Oh yeah, Crazy Coyote 1313. Theory. Aztecs were probably sacrificing vampires in Mexico. Conquistadors actually set them free. Oh.
Yep. Who knows? That sounds plausible.
Yeah. Possible. Aztecs used obsidian, which was close to the sun. They probably used it against the vampires. Ooh, probably. C. That's a different topic, but Aztecas did surgeries wrongly thought as a sacrifice by Spanish. Christians did more sacrifice than natives. Oh, yeah. Adrian Belto. Cool show. Thanks, guys. Hey, you're welcome, Adrian. Thanks for joining us. Crazy Coyote 1313. Betted today on Cam Scadaboo and Shaquan Barkley. Going to be eating good until Thanksgiving. Eating good until Thanksgiving. Oh, okay. So my football right there. Benali R makes me wonder what are some stories in Asia about the Yeti. Oh man, there's that
Hey, what's up?
orang pandek, the wild
Right.
man. There's a lot of them out there in Asia.
Yeah. This character seems to be all over the world, even on distant islands too, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we do have listeners in Asia, and if anybody out there in the continent of Asia or even the Middle East, Afghanistan, all that area, if you guys would like to come on the show, please reach us out. Reach out. We would like to hear what you guys got going on that side of the world. CCC, how to send gifts to the cost. Thank you. If you're friends with me on Facebook, we do have a GoFundMe for our future investigations. We're going to be doing documentaries with everyone we had on the podcast, especially that live on the Navajo Nation. And we still need to get some GoPros so you guys can watch me shaking my moccasins if I'm scared, maybe crapping my moccasins. You guys will all see that in real time. I'll show you. Hey, crap to it. No, I was kidding. but yeah, so we got some things planned that we want to capitalize on. What we got going on the reservation, just like what Thomas said, we could get a van, and just have a whole bunch of people. Basically a Vienna sausage, just like, hey man, it's a huge human bait right here, Just kidding, if you can catch this. No, just kidding. But yeah. Oh, Darren, is there anything you want to add on before we end the show tonight?
Oh yeah, like what our guest said, talk to the elders, get to know them, get to know their stories, and they know a lot, more than you would think. And traditionally wise, I think we should go back to that way of knowledge again. So, talk to your grandma, talk to your meet your grandfather. Go sit down and eat with them, and I'm pretty sure they'll like that conversation, and most likely like having people around. So, and have a good week. Next week is we're doing a Halloween special on Friday, so take the kids out and you can listen to us while you drive the kids around. Have a good Halloween.
Oh yeah, we'll be going live at 11 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So just make sure you tune in. Crazy Coyote 1313, Flores Man Fossil. So a small humanoid isn't too far fetched. Oh yeah, little people. Yep. Well, I'm gonna be closing out the show, Darren. You want to say goodbyes to everybody?
Yeah, goodbye. Have a good one. I'm going out.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, this is why we're gonna draw the line in the sand for the week, guys. We'll see you guys on Sunday. So thank you for tuning into Don't Whistle at Night. We've been broadcasting live here on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans. You guys have a great one. And remember, don't whistle at night. You guys have a great night.
Yes, have a good one.
Be safe out there. All right. See ya.